Okay, now we're going to it is now 6 o'clock. We will get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I call the Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 board meeting to order. I did recess the board and executive session today at 5 o'clock this evening to review the performance of a public employee. The session ended at 5:55 and no official action was taken. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a busy night, lots of faces out here, so welcome. Thanks, everyone, for being with us. We are going to start with the approval of our agenda. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So, go ahead. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by David and seconded by Jennifer to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried and the agenda is approved. We'll roll on to the fun part of the night, recognition and report. So our first recognition is Month of the Military Child. So thank you, Jenny, for getting these shirts for us. I think Bunky was part of coordinating that as well. April recognizes military children. We wear the color purple because purple is the blending of red, white, and blue, and it's something that we have been doing for the last several years. So we have a resolution, resolution number 25-03, in recognition of Month of the Military Child. So we don't always read the resolutions. Sometimes they're quite boring, but this one is pretty special, so I'm going to read this. And do we have any military-connected students in the audience with us tonight? Would you like to come up here with us for this part? Yeah, come on up. And he's in purple. And he's in purple. Hey. Come on up here. Are you ready to speak into the microphone? Do you want to tell us what is your name?
Carson.
And where do you go to school?
Florida Elementary.
So this is your school. Okay. And you are a military child? Is someone in your family serving in the military?
My mom and my dad.
Your mom and your dad. So this is a really special day. So this is going to be fun for you to hear this. And then on April 22nd, our next board meeting, we're going to have a carnival with lots of games and fun and food and maybe getting to pie one of us in the face. Celebrating military kids. So we're wearing purple because we're celebrating you today, okay? So I'm going to read this. And everyone, I would like you to pay attention because all these things talk about the kind of kid you are. Oh, wait, okay, let me just take a deep breath. We'll start. Okay. Whereas the Peninsula School District serves school-age military-connected children, and whereas military families in the Peninsula School District include men and women on active duty service in the Air Force, Space Force, Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, members of the Reserves, and National Guard. And whereas the state of Washington and therefore the Peninsula School District is a member of the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children, which addresses key issues encountered by military students, including enrollment, placement, attendance, eligibility, and graduation. And whereas the Peninsula School District is officially recognized by the state of Washington as a Purple Star District, indicating a deeply held commitment to recognizing and serving military-connected students and their families and encouraging our community to do the same. And whereas military-connected children, just like you, and their families move every 2 to 3 years, an average of 6 school moves during a child's life within the United States and abroad, disrupting academic routines and friendships. And whereas military connected children also serve their country right, by demonstrating resilience, perseverance, cultural competency, and patriotism. And whereas military children can provide unique and valuable insights on learning, friendship, service to others, and heightened national and global awareness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Peninsula School District Board of Directors and Superintendent recognizes April 2025 as Month of the Military Child and encourages all within our community to show appreciation and honor our military students and their families. So that's for you. Let's all say thank you. You do amazing things. We're so super proud of you. Thanks for being a great military kid and serving alongside your parents. All right. Handshake. Good job. All right. You know what? One of these years, maybe I'll get through it without having to stop, but yeah. I know, David's usually the crier. Okay, rolling on to item 4.2, Swiftwater Elementary Sensationals. Do we have them here? Mr. Brooks, are you going to bring them in? Yeah, it looks like they're behind us. So if you if you're sitting in here in the front, feel free to stand up and turn around. That was fantastic. Now, can we have a picture before you leave? Can you direct them around this way? I want to see if you can go counter flow. If you guys can come up here, we'd love to have a picture with you.
While you're coming up, I just want to say thank you so much. You performed at Heron's Key, and during that song, I saw all of the Heron's Key participants. They all had tears in their eyes. So out of the mouth of our students is what we should all aspire to. So thank you for coming, and parents, thank you for bringing them this evening. You should all be proud of them.
Yes, go ahead, yeah.
And I just also wanted to add, I'm David Brooks, the principal, just add that thank you to Jeremy Wilson, who's our music teacher, and he's got about 50 students that have come every Tuesday morning, and parents, thank you so much for helping kids get here. They performed the national anthem Saturday at the Rainiers game, and they've had a busy weekend. They're coming tonight, and then Thursday night's our stream night, so for kids to take that time out, and parents, thank you so much for helping out and supporting our Military Children Month. Thank you all. And thank you, Mr.
Outstanding,
Wilson.
thanks, thank you so much. So fun, okay. Next up, we've got our Poetry Out Loud Regional Champion. So is Shay here? Oh. Excited for this. Do you have something to read for us? Are you going to deliver a poem for us? Okay, can we have you go to the podium? That's where the microphone is, there, yes.
We have people online that are listening.
Chuck, can you? And before you give your poem, can you just tell us a little bit about what the Poetry Out Loud is?
Okay. Hang on. I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
No, it's okay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, it's okay. Poetry Out Loud is basically a competition where you recite poems that have, and the authors of the poems have given the rights to the competition. So then we can compete with them and recite them. And then you go from regionals to state and so on. I think all the way to nationals.
Wow, okay. And so you're going to recite a poem for us?
Yes.
Yes, and okay, your name is Shay Dooley,
Yes.
correct? And where do you go to school?
I go to school at Peninsula High School.
And what year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
Okay, all right, Shay, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is We Wear the Mask by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts, we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh, great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask.
So this Poetry Out Loud, you're regional champion, correct?
Yes.
And then what comes next for you?
So we already competed in state.
Okay.
I was not one of the people who made it to the final round, but the people who did were absolutely incredible, and I'm so happy that they did.
Oh, that's very generous of you, and I think we see a future here for you. So as a sophomore, you have a couple more opportunities to compete in the high school level, right? Any other questions or comments for Shay?
I have one. Shay, so what do you like the best of doing Poetry Out Loud? Because you did such a phenomenal job. What do you like the best about it?
Well, one of the things is just that the competition is so friendly. But beyond that, it's the ability to make it so these words come to life in a way that you don't really get in the classroom as often, because you are finding your own interpretation. And in order to recite a poem, you have to figure out what each word means to you. And so it becomes this incredible thing that was beyond what it was when you first started.
Wow, that's outstanding. Thank you. Thank you for that. Takes, first of all, a lot of courage to come and do that. And you are so poised, and your delivery was really, really fantastic. So well done. Congratulations. What's that? Oh, yes. Wait a minute. Shay, can we get a picture with you? Now to the front. Wrangle us every time. Oh, yeah. Okay. Goodness. Oh,
6 inches that way.
but now. Okay, item 4.4 is Peninsula School District Music Program. Who is presenting on that? Mr. Swanson? Oh, Hildebrand. All right, we've got a group here.
See if I can get it to work. Yay, it worked. Okay. Oh, yes. All right. Hello, all. So my name is Megan Helborn. I'm the band director at Peninsula High School, and this is Eric Swanson, our band director at Gig Harbor High School, and these are some of our fabulous band students from both programs. And we have had just a fantastic start to this calendar year, especially in lots of just great achievements. So I want to make sure the students get most of the limelight and time on the mic, because they deserve it. They earned it. But I put together just a little bit of a slideshow to kind of showcase some of the things that we did. So this is our horn quartet, which James was a part of. So this group participated in the Solo Ensemble Festival, and that's kind of the first. Will the clicker work? Maybe not. Okay, so that's kind of the first festival that I wanted to highlight. And so students, do one of you want to just kind of give a general outline and layout of how Solo Ensemble works, so that everybody kind of understands what that means? Yes, the mic, please.
So Solo Ensemble is an annual competition where students get to pick their own music and perform as either a solo with a piano accompanist or with fellow peers from their school. I performed in 2 ensembles, a brass quintet and a French horn quartet that you saw in the picture, as well as a solo. Peninsula High School hosts our regional contest, which is a really awesome opportunity for us I love music, and it's a really fun opportunity to give back to this community that's given me so much. In just a couple of weeks, the winners from in each category are going to go to state for the solo ensemble competition, including myself with the brass quintet. Yeah, and along with a ton of people from Peninsula High School and Gig Harbor High School.
Over here and give more stuff from Gig Harbor. But this is at least the data that I have from us. So there were 23 categories that PHS competed in, and I think 24 between both of us because you had a cello soloist as well. And of that, I think combined we had the state qualifier in 18 of those 24 categories between the two schools, which is pretty phenomenal. I think as I was coming here, I was thinking from the solo category, I think flute and French horn and snare drum are the only 3 solo categories that we didn't send a representative from, which is pretty cool. So each instrument, band, orchestra, that kind of thing, they all have a category for a solo in each instrument, and then there's also small woodwind, large woodwind, small brass, large brass, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, between our two schools, both the percussion groups, the small and the large, were represented between our two schools. Small woodwind, large woodwind, small brass, large brass, and just a whole ton of solos as well. So, yeah. So, anything, James or Zero, do you want to add about your experience or what you're looking forward to in state? Because all 3 of these students are headed to state. So, if you don't have something to say, that's okay too. I just want to. Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. Hi, so I'm James and from Gig Harbor, and I qualified for the clarinet solo category, and I have for every single year I've been in high school, and then this year I'm playing a not so well-known piece. It's called Monologue Number 3 by Erland von Koe, and so like James said about how there's a piano accompanist for all the solos, there's some solos that are unaccompanied, and so that solo is unaccompanied, so I'll just be playing it by myself. Yeah.
You have to capture the audience.
Hello. Dovetailing on James, he's not just a fabulous clarinetist. He also played in a small woodwind ensemble and also plays in percussion ensemble. He's playing in the musical. Like all of these guys from both schools are just coming all in with playing a solo ensemble, also playing with their band, also playing with the musical orchestra, pit orchestra, which is coming. Both high schools' productions are in production right now. They'll be opening in May, so both high schools. And so there's just a lot, and March is particularly busy. Yeah. There it is. So, yeah, our large group festival, which our region, the Commencement Bay region, hosted, this was jazz, right?
Yeah.
I think the stadium hosted the jazz festival this year, which both high schools received superior ratings on our groups, which, yeah, it was pretty great. What's next? Oh. The Quincy Jones Jazz Festival, that's a festival that's held up in Bremerton. They commemorated their new, the rebirth of an old festival. They're rebranding it and called it the Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, for those of you who know, was a world famous musician, arranger, composer, producer. Spent many years with the Count Basie Orchestra. Probably his most famous thing that you would be aware of is he was a producer for Michael Jackson's Thriller album. You know, so he's he's the one that put the We Are the World together from back in the 80s. So he has his hand, had his hand in many different things. He recently passed away within the last year, And he lived here in the Northwest. He lived in Bremerton and Seattle for a number of years of his early life. And so that jazz festival came about, and we participated. Gig Harbor went up, and we won the festival. So it was kind of fun. So yeah, yeah. So James plays drums for the jazz band too. So I mean, multi-talented people in both of our programs. Next, that's it. Oh, cool. Well,
And what there was more.
well, both bands actually leave on Thursday to go to California, going and participating in a competitive music festival down in Los Angeles, Anaheim, and doing some music educational activities while we're there. I know we're doing a thing with Disney where they bring the kids into a music studio and they get to sight read Disney music. And then they put the kids' recordings up on the screen with these different scenes from a variety of different Disney projects. So it's a little bit of a taste into the real world Hollywood recording for soundtracks. And so it's a really cool experience. We get 90 minutes and they just put them through the ringer a little bit. But it's kind of a dose of what it means to be a professional musician. So, yeah. A little bit, yeah. You know, Disney is very protective of their property, and they don't even give us a recording of the video of that. They used to, but they stopped doing that because they found many of those things ended up on YouTube. So, yeah, so they stopped giving us copies of that. But what they did last time is they give us like a 2-week window that we can view it from their website, and then they shut it down and let it go. So, yeah, but. Just the educational factor for the kids is amazing. It's a great opportunity for them. So, do we have anything else? Any questions for these guys?
I got a question is, where does this state competition take place?
So an ensemble is held at Central Washington University.
Okay,
Yeah,
And then-
last weekend of April.
okay, cool. And then they have a really good theater arts program too, as well as music program.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They
And then I'm a huge jazz fan and grew up listening to Lawrence Welk. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah.
Any Lawrence Welk
I'm old
fans?
enough to appreciate.
But I think it'd be awesome if your group could come in and have a combined jazz, show us what you can do here at a school board meeting.
Just blow the windows.
Not
off.
tonight, obviously.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. You playing here? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Any other questions or?
I don't have a question, but just a comment that you put together 2 amazing programs, and I love to see how well you work together. So I know there's always friendly competition between the schools, but it's just a testament to how much you as teachers and leaders love music and love to pass that on, and just the enthusiasm that we see in the kids is so heartwarming. But the quality that comes out of these programs is something that is really trademark Peninsula School District, and it's the kids, it's the teachers, it's the support, and I know that you're doing it in facilities that are dated and don't showcase your talents well. To have a band concert in a gym is just not ideal. So, you know, hopefully someday we'll be able to remedy that. But for those of you who persevere through and just do it for the love of the music, well done. And it just makes us so proud. Everywhere you go, we hear about it when you share your music with other people and other organizations and events.
Well, I would also like to say that things like this don't happen just at the high school because they start in kindergarten.
Yes.
And it's a K-12 alignment that makes these things possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, our elementary music folk are where it starts, and we really appreciate them. And then, of course, in our middle school.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right. The middle school people are the one that hand them the instrument and tell them how to start playing it. So without those steps, you know, we can't have things like this. So it's really important.
Well done.
I'd like to see a battle of the bands.
This is not football. We're friendly. We're not.
Music battle, I mean, I think that'd be cool. Yeah.
Oh, no. Pictures.
It's about y'all.
I know. Okay, item 4.5, National Boards and Paraeducator, General Paraeducator Certificate Recognition. Dan, is Dan presenting on this? All right. Took the long way around.
Good evening. It's my honor to present this group. This is the toughest act to follow, these four groups. What a wonderful group of students. So tonight, it's, as you all know, Classified Para Week, so this is very ironic that we have this happening. So we want to make sure that we recognize people on behalf of our students. So the folks that I'm going to introduce tonight are working on their crafts to become better for our students. And so as you saw tonight, that's what we do it for. So tonight I want to talk about why it happens. These two people are coaches and mentors to our paraeducators and also our teachers that are nationally certified. So I want them to stand up real quick. Katie Cartham over there in the purple. Ironic that she's wearing purple tonight. I asked her why she was wearing purple. I think she got the memo, obviously. And then also Jesse Hupper, the National Board Coordinator as well. What I'll say about those two is as I was getting to learn a lot about what's happening, it was important for you to understand why these are important. And so tonight, you have a one-page brief that tonight, if you want to read, you have a one-pager that I'm not going to go in detail tonight that kind of explains each of the work that all of the people have to do tonight, okay? So the history of national boards, since 2017, we've had folks do national boards. And what's important about that is when I looked at the data, what's really neat is we represent about 10.5% of the national boards from certified for our district. So that's roughly 56 to 60 staff members each year since 2017. I thought you might ask that question, so that's what it is. And so that's really a tribute to our staff. The next question that I really wanted to share is this question is, when I asked Jesse, what do they have to do? What exactly? It's many, many hours. And then she threw in MOC, which threw me off, which I'll talk about next. But to get nationally board certified, there are different components that you can see that Jessie really spends a lot of time. You know, she has a full-time job, she has family, so when I call her, I'm getting all this information. She spends a lot of time mentoring and coaching all of the national board certified folks. So those folks, I wanted to recognize tonight. And I know this about staff, not everybody showed up, but in the spirit of the gold medal, go for the gold. These are your four people that actually got certified for their national boards this year. And their names are David Millard, stand up if you're here or at home. Tracy Lath, there she is. Hope I said that right, Gig Harbor history teacher, right? New to us. Lana Stevens, Gig Harbor High School art. And MJ Perryman, Harbor Ridge Middle School, math. Okay? We did ask them to be here. We will have certificates for them and gold medals for them. So that's what they get. So thank you. All right. So the next thing is, we started talking about MOC. I didn't know what that meant, but after you get your national board, you actually need to maintain it. So people have to maintain it. So we have quite a few people that after they got certified, they have it expires, so you have to re-up yourself on your certification. So you can see that they have some components that they have to fulfill to be able to do that, so that you can still sharpen your craft and stay certified. And as you know, being certified has a lot of benefits, not just because you're going to get sharp on your instruction, but you also have a compensation that comes with it, as all of you know. And those people I'd like to recognize are Kirsten Brent from Harbor Ridge Middle School Science, Jessica, I practiced this, Gillard, oh, darn it, okay, Gillard, thank you, Gig Harbor High School English, and Angelique Houghton, okay, and she's from Eagle Quest Evergreen, okay, so thank you, those that are doing your MOC. All right, the first time I heard about this, what is GPC, FCS? This is certification for paraeducators. As you know, we had a mandate that we needed to make sure that we certified our paraeducators. So the GP certificate was established in 17-18, and when it launched 21-22, you have to get that within 5 years. But what's really cool about our team, they got it done within 1 or 2 years. What's the benefit? I asked Katie. The benefit is that you sharpen your skills, but you get to actually pick where you want to get certified in. And our team of paraeducators actually did it within 1 or 2 years. And I will say that Katie Cartham is wonderful in making sure that they help them with finding out how they can. You just can't pick any course. You have to pick it within the parameters that Katie Cartham sets with them and the state, right? And so that's really nice. And as you know, we hired her 2 years ago, and she has really helped us get organized with our GPC. What's really nice for our onboarding, and I'll talk about this in May, she has done a really nice job with our paraeducators to make sure when they get here, they understand GPC and FCS, because it is very complicated. And if you don't know it, we actually onboard them. The state says, let's make sure we get the fundamental course, right? That everybody gets fundamental course to make sure they understand what it means to make sure you have the 28 hours to make sure that you have the skills to be a paraeducator with our students. So that is something that is really important, and we want to make sure that happens. So that is the two pieces that happens with FCS and GPC, and I actually put it up there so those acronyms get used a lot, but what does it mean? Hopefully you'll see it up there. Okay, so congratulations. This is really cool. Look at all those names, right? So those are all of our paraeducators that work all day to support our staff and students, and they are all listed. I won't read them all out, but please stand up if you're here. So on that note, what I'd like to share is I'd like to have them all come up. Since everybody else got a picture, we would love you to come up too. All right. Any questions?
Hey, Dan, I got one for the paraeducators for their training at 28 hours. Do they do that during a normal school day here at PSD, or do they do that on their own time?
That's a great question. I'm going to defer to Ms. Cartham.
Outstanding.
Okay, thank you, Katie. All right, if no other
Well,
questions?
I just say how grateful we are that we have so many wonderful people, obviously, working with our kids. But we are always asking our kids to push themselves and do more and keep learning, never stop. So to all of our educators, paraeducators, staff members who model that, it really makes a difference in the classrooms. Our kids see what you're doing and we see what you're doing, and it's what makes this place incredibly special. So thank you for putting in the extra effort and believing in yourselves and being champions for our kids. It's a lot of work. So with that, let's do photo.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have the district wellness update. Employee Support Services, Julie Mondry. And Danielle, yeah, hi, and Danielle here, Danielle Chastain.
Great, and it is, just checking the clicker really quick. That works, perfect, okay. Hello, everyone, my name's Danielle Chastain. If you haven't gotten to know me before, I'm the communications coordinator for the Peninsula School District.
I'm Julie Mondre. I'm the director of employees.
And we are both two of just a few members of the District Wellness Committee. And we're here to talk a little bit about the work we've done in the past year. So, pardon me, just make sure I have all of our notes. The mission of the District Wellness Committee is to cultivate an inclusive and supportive environment that promotes holistic health and well-being among Peninsula School District employees. We are aligned with Policy 5515, Workforce Well-Being and Secondary Traumatic Stress Prevention, and we represent a diverse group of employees from across the district. We focus on employee wellness as a foundation for student success. We believe when our employees are doing good, when our colleagues at PSD are feeling good and doing good, that gets passed on to our students and leads to overall success. We also have a special emphasis on addressing secondary stress and building resilience, which we'll get into a little bit. All right, so our key initiatives and accomplishments. Sure.
So we started with Paul. So that was our key focus. Not a lot of people asking. That was the building.
Yep. We have our building level wellness initiatives, such as our wellness reps that are a part of the building's BLTs. We also have some communication strategies going out, including the wellness section of the bridge, and monthly all building collaborations with themes, focused areas. And then we recently put out a staff wellness survey to the entire PSD staff, and we're going to share some of the results of that. So here's some of the data from our district wellness staff survey. We surveyed all PSD staff. We implemented it in January. The nice weather, I'm wishing it was July. We got 560 respondents. Out of those respondents, 70% were certificated and 30% were classified. Me and Julie kind of looked over the numbers together, and I asked her from her perspective from ESS, what does that look like? Is that a really good representation of our staff? 44% of our staff took the survey. It is not we would say a true representation because there is a lot less classified staff than there are certificated. Part of the reason is this survey showed great school and building participation, especially among our elementary schools. Our elementary schools really took the survey, and we were really excited to see what they had to say. A lot of it we thought might have to do with the ability to access the survey. A lot of our certificated staff have work computers, or work on the computer during the day and have maybe 5 minutes to stop and take a survey, where somebody who might be going from building to building doing maintenance or grounds or driving a bus don't have the time to stop and take an online survey. So that's something we really want to work on for next year. Because part of our work is to get better representation. So here are some of the results of the survey. So this first one, how will you rate your overall well-being? So we have excellent at 11%. Oh, I'm forgetting I have to do both. We have excellent at 11%. 55.9% said good. Fair was at about 24%, and then poor was at about 10%. This is the one that we thought was really interesting. How frequently do you experience stress related to supporting students who have experienced trauma? Thank you. Here, I'm going to put you in charge of this. There you go. If you look, over 25% of respondents said that they experience stress related to supporting students on the daily, weekly at 29%, and monthly at 17%. Only 5% said they never experienced stress related to supporting students who have experienced trauma, and 22% said rarely. This is highlighting how frequently staff are feeling. I would say that one shows a high level of empathy, but it also shows how this can be affecting them day to day when they are working one-on-one with students or helping in the classroom, or even if they're not, it's not just teachers. Again, bus drivers, if a student's having a really bad day, how does that affect their behavior on the bus and therefore affect the bus driver's day? It is a daily occurrence and something that we are thinking about and trying to look at solutions for at the committee level. Yep. So the next question, I feel equipped to manage secondary traumatic stress. We have actually kind of good numbers here. About 40% agreed, 35% said neutral, 7% said strongly agree, 17% said, disagree, and it was just around 1% for strongly disagree. Next one. This one too is kind of interesting. Are you aware of any resources available to address secondary traumatic stress? For example, self-assessment tools and workshops. If you look at it, it's really a breakdown of 50-50 yes and no. And then if you look at the yeses, it breaks down even more to yes, but I haven't used them, and yes, I have used them, with a greater portion of employees saying that they know about them, but they haven't used them. So we're thinking about what can we do to make these more accessible and help, because if people are knowing about them, that's great, but if it's not helping them at the time, what's the use? Yes. And then this is just a few comments we heard from the survey. Things like, we need more things taken off the plate rather than added on. Secondary trauma might be overloading classrooms, and providing resources is well intentioned, but finding time to access them is the challenge. And if you guys want, with the link, we have a link to the full survey data. There was a lot more questions and data in there. So I'll let Julie talk a little bit more about this. Yep. When we were at the welcome back, if you remember our axe throwing event, which was really fun. But when we asked people if they knew about it and if they knew what it did, a lot of people didn't realize it's counseling, right? So it can be emotional counseling for you or a family member. It can also be substance abuse counseling. You can get help for, like she said, with legal services. One of the things I found interesting, because it's kind of close to my family right now, is getting help for like elderly family members. You're able to not only get legal help with helping them, like we said, with their estates or maybe taking power of attorney, but help finding the right resources for them and care. And it is anonymous. So we see that we can see the number of people who've used it, but we don't know their names and we don't know why. It is actually a separate entity from PSD, and I think people don't realize that.
Real quick, I know in the private sector that they have these similar, and those services are free. Are these free?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not free to the district.
All right. Yep. So also our stress and resilience initiatives. So we have our all building collaborations with our focus themes, like we spoke about, our wellness reps being on the BLTs. They talk about things such as self-care, reflection. In June, we celebrate. And then we have our generation wellness resources and trainings, which are tools provided to building wellness reps. That Generation Wellness, if you don't know, is an outward-facing website. It's linked in the staff intranet, but buildings also have their own specific links. And we got some good feedback. People have been liking the Generation Wellness resources. Right. And addressing secondary traumatic stress. Legislation requires, as an employer, PSD needs to address and mitigate secondary traumatic stress. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If our employees feel stress when they interact with students who might have trauma, they do. Our wonderful partners over at the PEA work to set up systems and resources by focusing on educator model wellness and regulation for student success. And now the committee is kind of taking those structures and that work, and we are moving to the next phase of, okay, now we know the problems. What are we going to do to, try to address those? We've shared self-assessment tools with the staff, resources for identifying and managing secondary trauma, building admin training, and of course, our ongoing communication campaign to reduce stigma around looking for help. And some of the comments we got regarding these resources, one person put, "The sensory box is used every day in my classroom. Thank you for Generation Wellness trainings. I enjoy the resources, and I appreciate the district's commitment to informing me about my wellness." Would you like to? Sure. Thank you so much. Oh, great.
I actually do, sorry, I do have one. Just related to the staff surveys, going back to some of those results, I'm assuming the staff survey was anonymous. Is there a way to connect with anyone who has responded in a way that would indicate they needed help with something?
No, we just chose not to collect emails. We did ask them about, what building they're in and maybe and what their title might be, or like, their general,
Sure.
their certificated or classified. But we knew that if we had asked for emails, we would have a lot less
Sure.
respondents.
Okay. Yeah.
Quick question. So my frame of reference for EAP is my own employer, which is a large company, and we've had an EAP for years. And I'm just wondering if how, like, I'm thinking of examples like where someone experiences a specific, like their house burns down, and then the EAP in for our company is who will help that employee, but also employees do payroll deductions and whatnot year round to fund the EAP. Is that happening in PSD or what?
No,
what
this is a free
funds
benefit
it?
to our employees. So it's coming from our district budget.
But people don't ever contribute to it, just
No.
like a charitable contribution or whatever.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm sure that probably builds some inherent awareness when you see something taken out of your paycheck. You go, "What's that going to?"
Well, it's voluntary. I mean,
Oh, good.
you would just say, I'd like to do, whatever. But okay, that helps me understand that a little better.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and for our final report this evening, we've got our Director of Finance and Business, Chris Bishop, is going to give our monthly budget update.
All right. Hello and good evening. Are you guys ready to hear some numbers?
We are.
Those are good.
Okay. They look pretty good as of now. Yeah. So I'm going to start by looking at our general fund revenues. And you guys see the visual up there, a couple of charts, things like that. So I'm going to call out a couple of numbers, specific numbers on each one of these pages, give a little bit of information about that, and then jump to the next thing. So the first thing I wanted to call out is our total revenues. I don't know if to call that a chart, but on the very top left, that red bar shows that our total revenues, we're at 47.85% of our projected revenues, or our budgeted revenues to date. Our projected revenues are 45.51%. So we're just about 2.25% above where we projected to be at this point, revenue-wise. The biggest reason for that is we're 41 students over our projected enrollment amount. So we projected 8,616 students, and this includes running start and dropout reengagement. Our actual is 8655. So those numbers again, 8616, and then our actual is 8655. The second reason, jump to the state sources. So the blue bar at the top there, that just shows our state sources. Our actual year to date, we're at 48.2% of our budgeted revenues, and our projected at this point was 45.77. Again, increased enrollment versus projected, those are state revenues. If you look at the federal bar on the very far right, that's the green one for those of you that can't see, it says we're at 29.13% of our budgeted revenues. We're projected to be at 36.11%. So the reason we're lower there is it's just a timing differences between grant claims. In fact, I just claimed $500,000 in SPED in March. So we'll probably end up being above our projected amount next month. Next thing, so in the table, this is hard with the crowd. This one right here.
Okay.
You'll see insurance recoveries. We've brought in $443,000 of insurance recoveries this year to date. We projected $50,000 of those revenues, so we're doing well, kind of, because we don't want to have to submit insurance claims. It means things are going wrong in our buildings, but we're bringing that's. Yes, I have examples. So our insurance recoveries this year, our biggest ones. Goodman, we had water damage. That was about $320,000 of insurance revenues that we brought in after spending the money. $44,000 of that was transportation claims, so bus accidents. There was $44,000 at Minter Creek. There was some water damage, and then $34,000 Gig Harbor High School electrical repairs, and then a $4,000 KPMS fence repair. So looking at our budgeted $50,000 revenue versus the $450,000, that kind of helps explain some of the why we're ahead of where we projected to be at this point. We didn't expect to have those expenditures.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you, is that did those
I'll touch on it
revenue
later.
recoveries from the insurance cover the cost of the expenses?
Yeah. So you'll see, I think I
Didn't
give
always happen.
a specific example later on. I'll circle back if.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to do, just talking about revenues, is give a couple of shout outs. So Jana Rush recently submitted the Special Education Safety Net application. We qualified for $2,010,000, so just over $2 million. If you remember last year, I want to say that number was about 1.5 that we actually brought in. So big shout out to Jana. That's a huge undertaking. I provided her a few numbers for expenditures, but she did all of the IEP work and the student side of things. That's where most of the work for Safety Net comes in. The other person I wanted to shout out was Kelsey Park, our CTE director. So she has gotten 4 state grants this year that weren't budgeted for. They were posted in EGMS. We got emails saying, hey, here's this program, apply for it. So she got awarded $10,000 for an AP Computer Science Initiative grant, $12,000 for a high demand CTE grant, $96,000 for expanding health science programs in the high schools, and then a $50,000 grant for consolidated equity and sustainability dual credit. So she's done a lot of work. That's over $150,000 of grant revenues that she's brought in, unbudgeted grant revenues. That's all I got for revenues. Are there any questions before I flip the page? Okay, general fund expenditures. The bar on the top left up there is our projected year-end balance as a percentage of our expenditures. Board goal is 4 to 6%. We're showing 7.99%. We'll call it 8% for tonight. We anticipate our ending fund balance to be lower than that 8%, but higher than the board goal of the 4 to 6%. The reason being is we need to have a healthy balance going into next year. We have, well, this summer and currently ongoing is our teacher bargain. And then I believe our principals are later in the summer. And then look at next year, we have 4 classified groups that we have to bargain with again. So we need to, we can't limp into next year with a fund balance that's really hurting and expect for those bargains to come out successful. The bargains that we have open next year, just so you guys are aware, the clerical union, the custodial union, maintenance and grounds, and technology. Okay. Total year-to-date expenditures, the red bar on the top, sorry if I'm jumping around everywhere, but the red bar, total expenditures, is almost exactly where we projected it to be. So our actual year-to-date, we're at 49.36% of our budgeted expenditures. our projection is 49.55%, so 0.19%. So that's pretty well done. On that note, I also want to give a shout out to our administrators, building and district, because of the level of uncertainty surrounding state and federal revenues right now. Our administrators have been doing a really good job of remaining cognizant of that and keeping their dollars tight. So, good job, buildings and administrators. Last thing I want to call out on this page is related to a big legislative priority. So the top 10 expenditures by program, this little chart right here, you'll notice number 2 on there is special education supplemental state, and then the second from the bottom one is special education supplemental federal. So those 2 programs, and I'm gonna project this out a little bit, but those 2 programs make up the majority of our SPED expenditures. To kind of put a picture to why this is such a legislative priority, our special education department, we're expecting revenues just under $20.5 million. But our expenditures are, if we take February's amount and we double it, 6 months, double it to 12 months, and salaries are paid through 12 months, so it calculates roughly. But we're expected to come in at just under 28.4 million. So just about $8 million shortfall there. Now, these numbers don't include that $2 million safety net application that Jana just submitted, but that money's not promised. It has to go through a whole approval process with the safety net board, and we don't like to, I don't know. It's probable, but it's not, like I said, it's not promised. Are there any questions on that one? Because there was kind of a lot of information there. Great. All right, next we have the chart. So this just shows a trend. This is a 5-year trend, and you can't see it, so I'll read the key. So the blue line, the solid blue line is our current year. Red line is last year. The orange line is 22-23, and so on and so forth. So this just shows how we're doing this year compared to last year. And as you can see, our trend line is following prior years, staying consistent with prior years. I do want to note that in May, we will receive, we'll only receive 5% of our apportionment allocation, and that's just the way that the state's apportionment schedule works out. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the legislative updates as well, because they want to make some changes to that. Last thing on this page, so there's this little triangle right here in the bottom right, and what that is, that's just our budgeted year-end balance. So take our budgeted beginning balance that we took our best guess at in July of last year, and then budgeted revenues, subtract budgeted expenditures, and that gets us to 8.4. So we ended up finishing last year, we budgeted a $13.5 million starting balance for current year for 24-25. We ended up about $1.5 million higher than that, so right at about 15 million. So if we carry those amounts, that triangle would be sitting just about 10 million. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, last one. So I'm going to talk about the revenues first. If we look at our local support non-tax revenues, and what this is doing is this is taking last year's and comparing us to current years, and saying what's your year-to-date percentage of prior year, what's your year-to-date of your budgeted this year, and so I'm going to call out a couple of differences. Local support non-tax, last year we only collected about 55% of our budgeted amount through February. This year, we're just about at 85%. There's a couple of reasons for that. So insurance recoveries, that's where that's classified for revenues, $450,000 versus the $50,000 amount that was budgeted. And then interest rates. Interest rates, we projected, we've collected through February more than we projected to collect for the entire year. So we're sitting just over $300,000 in general fund interest that we've collected. We budgeted $300,000 for the year. So that's the two main differences there. If we jump down a couple of lines to, excuse me, if we jump down a couple of lines to state special purpose, last year we were at 42.29% through February. This year we're at 46.18%. And a lot of these can be tied back to our enrollment numbers. Our LAP, Learning Assistance Program, is state funding. We budgeted at $1.5 million. Our actual allocation is $1.7 million. TBIP, or Transitional Bilingual Instructional Program, we budgeted at $433,000. The actual, our actual allocation is $586,000, so that's about a $150,000 increase there. Our state food service programs, we budgeted $13,000, and the actual revenues that we've received through February is $166. So if we double that, which it might not calculate out to quite double, but we can project about $300,000 on the year versus the $13,000 that was budgeted. And then the last one is transportation, and I don't know if any of you have ever tried to look at the STARS formula and tried to understand it, but it's, yeah. But anyways, every year in February, a report comes out, the 1026A report, and it shows the details of the allocation, our allocation, and then that report is really a look back at prior years and an adjustment. And this year we got just over $200,000 as a result of that look back. Okay, that's it for revenues. Now I'm going to jump down to expenditures. So first one, I'm going to call. I'm going to talk about salaries for the classified employees. Last summer, we bargained with 5 groups. So while the percentage remains the same, the dollar amounts, classified salaries are up about $1.8 million. That's expected. Like we said, we bargained with 5 groups, and we had a little bit of catch up to do with one of the groups. So I don't know, that might seem like a large number when we're comparing to increases year over year, but it was expected. Which one? Which one? There's 6 or 7. We got the clerical union, the custodial union, maintenance and grounds, technology. Where's Juliet? Yeah, clerical, custodial, transportation, and mechanics. Yeah, so 6. There's a lot. Yep.
Can I ask? Yeah. Chris, I notice, can you just point out, so employee benefits?
Yes.
And our employee benefits are through SEB. Can you talk about the difference? Is it just that SEB went up that much? That's my assumption, but.
It's SEB went up, salaries went up, so then the amount that the employer paid portion that is being paid into retirement goes up. Those are the SEB and the retirement ones. Those are the biggest benefits. Yeah. Okay. Next, so supplies, instructional resources, and non-capitalized items. We were at last year. We were at 44.58%. This year we're at 53.07. and that is due to unbudgeted expenditures or expenditures that were budgeted in other object codes. So maybe we had budget for services, but then we buy materials, supplies, physical goods. So a few of the programs that we're seeing that as the case, SPED is 228,000 over their budgeted materials and instructional resources. High school CTE is $200,000 over. Again, Kelsey's gotten $156,000 in grants, so a big portion of that is those grants because they weren't budgeted. We weren't aware of. We weren't promised those grants yet. So the expenditures weren't budgeted. Middle school CTE is 68,000, and then Title II is 55,000. And let's see, so these rather than looking at these as unbudgeted expenditures, and this is coming from Ashley. I'm sure you'll hear her come through. But the expenditures are investments into our programs because we want to build robust programs for students that attract students here. We want to be a choice district. So these types of expenditures, rather than thinking of them as expenditures, they're more investments into our programs. Did that sound like Ashley? She was texting me earlier. Let's see. Oh yeah, the last note here was just that these unbudgeted expenditures do include those grant opportunities that we weren't sure that we were going to get. Some of them we weren't even aware that they were out there until after the budget came through you guys for approval. But those expenditures still exist. So if we end up needing to do a budget extension, you guys will see those revenues in that update. That's not expected at this moment. I got a couple more points. I'm all over the place. Purchase services. So if you go one line down under supplies, instructional resources, and non-capitalized items, last year we were at just over 45%. This year, 53%. Again, that ties to insurance recovery, contractor services, as well as contracted staff costs. And then the last thing, because I can feel David staring at me and he's going to ask about it, are these numbers right here, the big red ones. So the first one is, this is our surplus or deficit. So for the year, we're showing just about a $5 million deficit, meaning we're almost $5 million expenditures over revenues. This means that we're dipping into our fund balance, but this was expected. So we're monitoring those costs, and when Ashley went through and made those cuts a couple of years ago, this is what she was afraid of, and if she hadn't have done that, this is the time where we would be in binding conditions, or very, very close to. So I just wanted to call that out and show, while we do have almost a $5 million deficit this year to date, we're still sitting on $10.6 million. So healthy fund balance that meets your guys' goals. That is it for this page. That's it for my financial updates. Are there any questions, comments?
I would just say that the work that you and Ashley did to keep us from getting into binding conditions.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot to keep track of. Thanks for stepping in. Great job tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, and then I'm just going to go over, I'm just going to give a quick legislative update because there are some big bills, and right now is a hot and heavy time in legislature. So I'm just going to kind of read through this, and we can comment. I'm not sure how well I'll be able to answer your questions, but I'll give it a shot. So last week was dubbed Budget Week in the legislature with the release of both budgets, the House and the Senate budgets. And while the budget action was at the forefront, it didn't stop all of the other legislative activities. So as a reminder, and I'm sure you guys are all aware, but just for everybody in the room, the only requirement of this legislature is to adopt the 25 through 27 operating budget by June 30th. So these other bills, these other the substitute bills, House bills, those, they're not a priority. It's not a requirement. It would be nice, but to talk about process a little bit, so all bills must be out of their opposite house policy committee by Wednesday, April 2nd, tomorrow, to remain viable. If they don't make it out of that, then they're dead. Bills with budget impacts then will have until Tuesday, April 8th, next Tuesday, to be adopted by the opposite fiscal committee. So House policy needs to be adopted by Senate, vice versa. Following those deadlines, legislators will reconvene in their respective chambers and caucuses for 8 days of floor action, culminating in a final deadline of April 16th. So April 16th, we should have a much more clear picture of what our funding is going to be, what our state funding is going to look like next year. The reconciliation process will follow, where then the differences between the House and the Senate budgets are resolved, and then basically the House and the Senate have to come to a point where their budgets are identical before the governor can sign the budget. Big three priorities, which this one actually does, my first one doesn't, it got brought on late. But the first one is changes to the state school apportionment system. And this will be heard by the House Appropriations Committee tomorrow. House Bill 2050 proposes shifting the apportionment schedule and taking, they would reduce revenues or apportionment allocation. So like I said, we're getting 5% in May. They're not gonna touch May, but they want to reduce revenues in February and March by 1%, and then in April by 0.5%, and then increase our revenues in August by 2.5%. So taking that money, instead of giving it to us in February, March, April, they're gonna give it to us in August, excuse me. For us, that wouldn't create a cash flow issue. For other districts, it could. But that just, it underscores this bill and its introduction just underscores the work that we've been doing, and we need to continue to right size, as Ashley says, continue to right size our operations, and make sure that we can remain proactive when things like this come up.
Isn't the change of this apportionment schedule just sort of smoke and mirrors? They're just trying to hide some money, so it looks like they're doing something, but they're not.
Yes and no. Think about it in terms of interest. So we get 1% of our allocation in February. We can invest that 1% from February through August while we have the money. If this change happened, we wouldn't have that opportunity. So does that make sense?
I'm curious because in the in-session, my understanding was that this was kind of a strategic move to shift several $100 million to the next biennium.
Yeah.
So it
So
looks
our
like-
lobbyist is
Yeah.
working on this
Yeah.
to testify no on
Yeah.
this because of the very thing. It's a shell game
Yeah.
for the state to claim that they are being more fiscally responsible by holding the money longer
Okay.
and then giving
I see what you're
it to
saying.
us late. And school districts are coming out and saying, you know, if they're close to binding conditions, they won't be able to meet payroll. And so it is not in our best interest, but it is a way that the state is moving money around to make it look not as bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shell game.
Yeah. Well, and that's the legislature saying that we should be able to rely on our levy revenues through April, and then that should carry us through to August.
Yeah, that's great for the school districts to pass them. So,
Yeah. Okay, the next item is MSOX, Senate Bill 5192. Senate Bill 5192 would only increase our district's funding by $48,500 based on our budgeted enrollment. That increase is welcome. Any increase is welcome. But that doesn't even come close to even the cost of our insurance, our liability insurance. Our increase is $500,000 next year. So that $48,500 is less than 10% of just our insurance increase going into next year. So, yeah, just to highlight some of the difficulties that we're facing right now.
Well, I think on that too, isn't the challenge, if that's the Senate bill, the House bill is significantly less, right? Yeah. So, and those are both still in negotiations.
you gotta ask them and bring them together and go ahead.
Yeah,
Yep.
Won't help much.
no.
The next one is special education funding. The proposed level of special education funding has been significantly reduced from the original proposals. At this time, the revenue impact of the bill is unknown still. But we'll have more information closer to the end of session. This latest version of the bill removes the least restrictive environment requirements. So that allows us greater flexibility in designing and implementing special education programs that are tailored to our students' needs without being constrained by the previous least restrictive environment mandates. Questions, comments about that one? Because SPED's a big topic.
Yeah, and I don't, yeah, because that's a huge difference too on the House and Senate, on those two. Yeah.
Yep. And then the last one is increasing or lifting levy lids and LEA. So we as a district do not support this because it would have a net negative impact on our district. Our tax base would experience increases. They would pay more in taxes, but Peninsula School District wouldn't see those revenues. They would be redistributed inequitably. Yes, good word. Okay, and then a couple of additional updates, just real quick. Community eligibility provision expansion there's talks going on right now. So funding is provided to support the expansion of the federal CEP offering additional reimbursements for meals not covered at the federal free meal rate. So I mentioned earlier our state food service revenues being higher than what we projected. This is a similar situation where, well, I guess we'll know before budget time, but food service revenues could be seeing some relief. And this could be big for us because we're in the middle of going out for an RFP for food services for next year. So, yeah. Last one, mastery-based learning demonstration projects. This would be continued support for the mastery-based learning program, including grants and professional learning for demonstration sites. So we currently operate the mastery-based learning program at Discovery, Minter Creek, and Purdy Elementary Schools. So this would just be keeping that funding going. Our funding this year is $100,000 between those three schools. That's all I have. All right, thank you.
Okay, item 5 on the agenda. This is community comments on agenda items only. So as you know, we offer 2 distinct periods for those wishing to speak. So this period is for those wishing to speak on agenda items only before the board takes action. So I will call your name to the podium, and please use your 3 minutes to speak. For those who are speaking on non-agenda items, there will be a separate period later in the meeting for that. So we have one person speaking this evening on agenda items, Michael Perot. And then your timer will be displayed.
Good evening, thank you. Tonight's adoption of the new middle school English language arts curriculum marks another important step towards the bringing effective science-based reading instruction to the Peninsula School District. For too long, teachers and students have struggled with ineffective reading programs that ignored proven methods like phonics in favor of guessing, using pictures, and whatnot. Parents, especially those with dyslexic students, have advocated for effective reading programs only to face resistance and low expectation from district administrators. Those who couldn't afford private tutoring were left with few options. The results, a third of the students in the Peninsula School District are not reading at basic grade level standards. At the last board meeting, much deserved credit was given to teachers and to administrators, but others were left out, especially parents, the true driving force behind this change. For as long as anyone can remember, they have been ignored, dismissed, and even discredited by PSD bureaucrats. But in the last few years, parents have spoken at board meetings, formed advocacy groups, lobbied elected officials, took to social media, and even filed lawsuits, cases that in which judges consistently ruled against the school district's failed practices. Initially, the board's response was largely symbolic with little action, but as parents persisted, they presented facts, they refused to back down, and in time, the board listened, not to the bureaucrats defending the ineffective programs, but rather to the families whose children had been harmed by them. These changes would not have happened without the board's insistence on reform and backing the superintendent in making this happen. A few individuals that deserve special recognition are Board President Natalie Wimberly. She questioned the standard response from administrators, attended key meetings, and even sat in on an IEP meeting of a student whose rights had been repeatedly violated by the district, according to a judge. Superintendent Barr, who became a champion for change, turning the entire district in the right direction and advocating for the science of reading, both here and beyond the district. Director Jennifer Butler, who initially knew little about the district's literacy challenge, but immersed herself in the issue, met with parents, dyslexic graduates of the Peninsula School District, experts in extensively studied research, and made it a priority to ensure all students, especially those with dyslexia, received effective instruction. This is a powerful example of democracy in action. Citizens holding their government accountable and compelling elected officials to act. While few may know the whole story, thousands of students will benefit in the years ahead. But this is not the finish line, it's the foundation. The curriculum alone is not only as effective as those that implement it. The best programs in the world mean nothing if adults in charge resist change, lower expectations, or refuse to work together for student success. The main focus must remain on outcomes, not optics, results, not rhetoric. The community is watching. Parents will not let the district fail another generation of students. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your commitment to literacy, all of you up there. We wouldn't be here today if you all hadn't stepped up, and I know more change is coming, and we're excited to see that happen and the results in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is item 6, our consent agenda. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? I know we've got some big decisions in this. No? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Jennifer and seconded by Chuck to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Consent agenda has been approved. We will move on now to item 7. We have some people who have been waiting very patiently this evening, and I'd like to call Michael Farmer, our Chief of Schools, up to make a really important recognition and introduction.
All right. Good evening, and thanks for this opportunity. Many of you may know the fact that Michelle Suter, who's been the principal at Gig Harbor High School for the last 5 years, recently took a job in Lincoln, Nebraska to be closer to her family and to some grandchildren. And so we're wishing her all the best and really want to thank her for her 5 years of service and dedication to our parents and the community and most of all the students at Gig Harbor High School. But that also meant we get the opportunity to hire a new leader and chart a new course for Gig Harbor High School going forward. And that's not a task we took lightly. So just I want to take a moment and just remind the board and everybody else kind of what led into this process and led us to the moment tonight. So we involved our students at Gig Harbor High School. They had the chance to take a survey about a month ago, and we got input from them. We involved the Gig Harbor staff in this process. I want to thank Dan DeZone, as you heard from him earlier. He led a really great process, which led to the development of a lot of the questions that were asked to the candidates during the interviews. I want to thank the parents who also got a chance to take that same survey. And then those students, those staff, and those parents also were part of the interview process as well. We also had community members in the interview, and our candidates had to endure 3 rounds of interviews on the first round. And from there, we selected 3 finalists, and then those were interviewed Friday at Gig Harbor. And I also want to thank Carol, representing our Teachers Association, because she was part of the interview process as well. We also had a few board members on there. And that day at Friday, I want to thank the students that gave our candidates a tour of the school, and then the other group of students that actually did a whole nother round of interviews. So the candidates had 4 sets of interviews now, if you're keeping track of that, which was impressive. And we got some amazing insights about our candidates from those students. And again, I want to thank Dan and his assistant Bunky. They organized all that stuff and did a really fantastic job. So anyway, like I said, we took this really seriously, and we're really excited and thrilled for this new course that Gig Harbor High School is going to be on. And with that, I'd really like to introduce Bob Marshall, who's the next principal at Gig Harbor High School.
Hi, I'm Bob Marshall. Really nice to meet you guys. Very excited to be the next principal at Gig Harbor High School. I wish I was starting tomorrow. However, I got to end my contract at North Kitsap, and then I'll be joining you guys full-time July 1st. However, I just live on the other side of those woods, and so I'm around. I'll be here and will do my best when I have the opportunity to check in and see what I could do as I learn and navigate how to work in this community as well. We have lived here in Gig Harbor for the past 6 years. We were coming from Alaska. However, we are from this area, and we're just so happy to be home. And I just am so thrilled that I get to work in the community in which I live. That is so important to me. And so when this opportunity came available, I jumped all over it and was so glad that I was chosen. And he's right. Those interview processes were grueling, and the kids were amazing, and the staff too. I just enjoyed every part of it. It was a good opportunity to kind of reflect on what I've experienced in my career as they ask questions, but it was also a good time to maybe share my heart a little bit, hopefully with those who were there in attendance for those interviews. And speaking of my heart, I just want to introduce a few people that are really close to me, my family. I'd like to introduce my wife, Jody. She's a middle school teacher out at South Kitsap, so thank you for your service. Appreciate that. And I have an oldest son. He's not here. His name's Lucas. He's a senior at Henderson Bay, and he's graduating in a couple months. We're so excited for him. He just wasn't feeling well tonight, so we kept him at home. Sam, an 8th grader over at Harbor Ridge, and then Piper, a 6th grader at Harbor Ridge. And then sitting next to Piper is my mother-in-law, Jo Reasons, who is over a 40-year veteran of education. She was over at Curtis for a long time in University Place School District, so just appreciate them and my family and their support. But do you guys have any questions for me? I'd be happy to answer anything. I could sing a song so I can get a picture taken with you later, if that would be helpful. I mean, yeah. Oh. Yeah, I told her she's got some time to think, so. Yeah. What are you talking about? They were just saying, Dad, when's the next meeting? We can't wait to sit through this again. This is fantastic. We love this stuff. Especially that budget report. Oh, my goodness. Let's see a few more charts. There's got to be a couple out there. Oh. Yes, thank you. Thank you for approving that. Yeah, and in all honesty, I am so excited, so thrilled to be here, and I love to serve, and I love to serve the community I live in. So if you ever need service for anything, please give me a call. I'm happy to do it. So.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Awesome, great, I love it. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we will have tons of questions for you
Yeah.
in the days and years to come, I'm sure. We'll give you some time to catch your breath and celebrate with your family. I know we have some people in the audience here tonight who came specifically to see you and to welcome you here. So it was a great process to all of our staff and students and families, community members who participated. I want to say thank you because it really is a reflection of your voice and the vision that we have for this high school. We're certainly grateful to Ms. Suter for the years that she gave and wish her the best as she moves on to her next adventure. But we're thrilled for change and excitement that you bring. And it's just been such a joy for me to hear the positive already since the news was released yesterday, just the excitement that comes with your hire. So welcome.
Thank you.
Roll Tides.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, let's get a picture. I also want to point out it is okay to leave a meeting if the part that you were here for is over. So thank you all for coming and staying. Okay, rolling into the action. We do need to read. Where is? We're going to pause for a couple minutes. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break before we get into all the action items.
Is it going to be like 20 minutes or like another hour?
I'll make
I motion to approve.
Second. Proudly, second.
David, did you second?
Yes.
Sorry, I wrote it down wrong. Okay. It's been moved by Chuck and seconded by David to approve Resolution 2503. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, and the resolution is approved. Item 8.2, approval of the second reading of Policy 3220 related to freedom of expression. Is there any discussion on the second read of Policy 3220? Is there a motion to approve the second read of Policy 3220?
I'll move to approve.
Is there-
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Jennifer and seconded by Lori to approve Policy 3220. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Second read of Policy 3220 has been approved. Item 8.3 is the approval of the second read of Policy 4220, complaints concerning staff or programs. Is there any discussion on the approval of the second read of Policy 4220? Is there a motion to approve the second read of Policy 4220?
Oh, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lori.
She made the motion.
First. It's been moved by David, seconded by Lori to approve Policy 4220. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is carried. Second read of Policy 4220, complaints concerning staff or programs, has been approved. Item 8.4, approval of the second reading of the recommendation for adoption of Amplify Middle School ELA curriculum. Is there any discussion on this item? Just a thank you to all who participated. It's a lengthy
Yeah.
process. It's an important process, one of the most important things that we do here, and I appreciate the staff time, the research, and the intent behind it, our parents, for working with us, certainly, and help
Yeah.
guide these decisions, which actually I think have driven a lot of the work that you're doing, Preston, with the literacy and as a state leader in that, so. Here we go, as in a very important step in that process. Is there a motion to approve the second read of the recommendation for adoption of Amplify, our middle school ELA curriculum?
I'll move to approve Amplify for middle school.
It's been moved by Jennifer and seconded by Lori to approve Amplify as our middle school ELA curriculum. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, and the second read of the recommendation for adoption of Amplify has been approved. Item 8.5 is the approval of the retirement of Policy 1430, communication with guests and district residents. This is kind of redundant to policies that we already have that address the same thing. Is there any discussion on the retirement of this policy? Is there a motion to approve the retirement of Policy 1430?
A motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Chuck and seconded by David to retire Policy 1430. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Policy 1430 has been retired. Item 8.6 is a review of the first read of Policy 1400 on meeting conduct, order of business, and quorum. So there's no action on this, but is there any discussion? Okay. Item 8.7 is a review of the first read of Policy 6217 related to electronic funds transfer. Any discussion? Item 8.8 is a review of the first read of Policy 2421 on promotions and retention. Any discussion? Item 8.9, a review of the first read of Policy 5253, maintaining professional staff-student boundaries. Is there any discussion?
Not a discussion, more as a comment. I think this is a really interesting one that, in our age of social media, because I know this is something just in the coaching world, youth sports world, there's such an emphasis a lot of times on, like, branding and marketing for recruitment and things like that. But we had an issue this weekend about like filming of students and other coaches and things like that. So I think I would encourage us all to really kind of dig into this one a little bit and make sure we understand it.
Yeah. Excellent point. Any other discussion? All right. That concludes all of our action items for the evening. Item 9 is comments from the community on non-agenda items. Again, I will call you to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Please state your first and last name at the podium, and your timer will be displayed here. We only have one person signed up to speak this evening on non-agenda items, Josh Johnson.
Hello, my name is Josh Johnson. I came to this board at the last meeting and outlined how the district failed to follow the state mandated harassment, intimidation, and bullying procedures when my son was harassed and bullied by a teacher. Honestly, I didn't expect much to change, but I was wrong. The district did make a change, not by fixing the process or holding anyone accountable, but by rewriting the rules altogether. Under the new 3207P, staff can no longer be considered aggressors under the HIB policy. Problem solved, right? If you redefine the rules, then violations just don't happen. It's a brilliant strategy for anyone looking to sweep harassment under the rug, just like they did in my son's case. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a routine update. Before I even brought this issue to the board, the district had already filed an insurance claim and hired an attorney. It was clear they knew they messed up. And instead of owning it, they rewrote the rules so it couldn't technically happen again. I've said multiple times that it appeared the district was more concerned about the teacher and about covering for itself than protecting my son or other students. This proves it. And I would love to hear from anybody here how this change benefits students in any way. Now, I understand the defense is that the district is just aligning with the state's model procedure, but every district can shape its policies according to its own values. And let's not pretend that the WSSDA's model isn't influenced by powerful interests that benefits from this reduced accountability. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe all the school directors in the state got together and decided that having a legally mandated process to investigate when their staff targets students is a liability. This district obviously thinks so. State law clearly requires districts to adopt policies and procedures that prohibit the harassment, intimidation, and bullying of any student. It doesn't limit who the aggressor can be. It doesn't say by another student. It simply says any student must be protected. By redefining aggressor to mean only students and excluding staff entirely, this new procedure violates not only the intent, but likely the letter of the law. If this district refuses to fix it, then I strongly encourage any parent who feels their child was targeted by a staff member to immediately take legal action. That might be what it takes to get a court to confirm what should be already obvious. The model procedure as adopted here is unlawful. The district says students come first, prove it. Update 3207 to explicitly state that teachers and staff can be considered aggressors under the HIB policy, like it was before. Restore the protections that students deserve. One last thing, Barr still refuses to meet with me. Not a call, not a word. She won't even talk to a parent whose student was bullied by a teacher. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes comments from the community on non-agenda items. Our next item is item 10, the superintendent's report.
All right, good evening. I had the privilege of presenting alongside our team. Our team is currently attending right now the COSN 2025, 2025 in Seattle. We had the opportunity, Chris and I, to present this morning on the human leadership in a world of AI with multiple other school districts. April is a month full of celebrations and recognition as we honor the incredible contributions of various individuals within our school community. And as we recognized earlier in the meeting, April is the month of the military child. Looking forward to that, hence our t-shirts. So I just wanted to point that out. And then April 22nd will be an opportunity unlike we have ever done before. So that will be pretty wonderful. April is School Library Month and Drop Everything and Read Month. This is a time to appreciate the invaluable role that our school libraries and librarians play in fostering a love of reading and learning. I really encourage everyone to take a moment to enjoy a good book. And April 4th is National School Librarian Day. So it's a special day to recognize our staff and thank our school librarians for their commitment. March 31st, this week through April 4th is Paraeducators Recognition Week. So let's take the time to celebrate the dedication and hard work of our paraeducators who support our students in countless ways every day. As we saw today, we saw quite a few paraeducators that are going above and beyond. Next week is Volunteer Recognition Week. Our volunteers are a vital part of the school community, and this week we honor them for their selfless service and support. Just a reminder that April 14th through the 18th, so before our next meeting, is spring break. This is a well-deserved break for our students and staff to rest and recharge and then come back for the final push for the end of the school year. And April 21st through 25th is Administrative Professionals Week. Let's make sure that we can show our appreciation for our office managers, our secretaries, our administrative assistants, our executive assistants, and our receptionists. Their behind-the-scenes work keeps everything running smoothly. I encourage all of us to take a moment to thank those who contribute to the success of all of our schools. I really want to thank all of our families coming out this evening, demonstrating from music to high school music, from elementary music, and all things in between. So it was a really special evening, and I want to thank the principals for attending when their staff are being recognized. So making sure that there were quite a few principals in the audience, just celebrating the good work that they're doing.
Okay, for board discussion and comments, we're going to start with our legislative updates. Jennifer and David.
Yeah, well, I think Chris is gone. He touched on a little bit of what was happening, but it's certainly the, on the WASDA weekly in-session calls, the shift has been towards now more budget discussions and a little bit less about, the various legislation. And again, as we all know, the anticipated upwards now of $15 billion shortfall is looming quite large. And kind of the topic now is how to be able to reconcile a House and a Senate budgets that are vastly different specifically within education funding, which is the biggest chunk, right? So again, this is my first time, doing the ledge rep work. And so I appreciate what Chris said about that, bills being, certain bills are dead, but at the same time, we're learning that's actually not true either. Because what we're starting to see now is bills we thought were dead or things are now, chunks of them are being pulled out, repackaged, and stuck into other legislation that might still be living. And so it's making it, it's kind of mind-blowing to me that this is the process. But at the same time, okay, this is the process. And so you see that the amount of work it's taking to kind of track and understand that. I have immense gratitude towards the WASDA folks and their ability to track it. Same with WASA, of where things are moving around to. So anyway, the big three, transportation, MSOC, and SPED. Transportation, there's really nothing on the table in the budget for that from either side. MSOC, there is an increase from both chambers, significantly larger from the Senate side, but as, again, Chris pointed out, even though that is a significant increase, it's still orders of magnitude below what districts need. And then special education, the Senate is a lot more robust. I mean, they are making, they did prioritize, the Senate side did prioritize special education funding. So they had a $2.2 billion increase from last year. And plus they did other legislative stuff like lifting the cap, increasing the services to age 22 and increasing the multiplier on point. So that was 2.2 billion, whereas the House was only looking at 188 million. So that's a big difference. But again, this is brand new, so it doesn't mean anything till April 27th, if they even make it by April 27th. And given the governor's comments today, there's a good chance that this is going to be extended beyond that because there is miles to go. The only other thing I want to comment on is this was something that was not on my radar at all, and it has to do with capital facilities. So I'm feeling a little bit like, how did I miss this? It has to do with capital projects a little bit, but it's kind of coming in obliquely through Department of Health. And evidently there was, and this came up on the WASDA call. So last year, the Department of Health was authorized to, they got some money to conduct a study on basically school environmental health and safety related items. So they've had groups going out, learning about, everything from HVAC to air quality to security to playground safety, all that stuff. That wasn't on a lot of radars because there was some baked in language about it, any of the rulemaking authority of Department of Health with regard to school facilities would then be given a look at by the legislature to ensure that any of their rules would then be funded. Well, an amendment was introduced last week that removed that requirement to have these rules that the Department of Health could make, that they would have to be funded. So there's a kind of a, again, it's a proposed amendment, but it's one of these things that I think my impression was it's caught quite a few people off guard, because I don't know enough yet to know if there's like similar to Department of Commerce with the clean buildings, if non-compliance is going to start resulting in fines and fees. But it just is, it's kind of mind-blowing that you now have two non-education related entities, the Department of Health, Department of Commerce, who are now going to be able to come in and make rules and pass regulations about school facilities that are entirely dependent on voter-approved bonds and levies, without any sort of requirement that these have a funding note attached to them. So, needless to say, WASDA is on alert about this, just to watch if that amendment goes through, because it's one of those, I don't know how anybody even found it, but WASDA will be paying attention to that. I certainly will, just from the facilities point of view. And yeah, that's all I've got.
If you, just to piggyback on the Clean School thing, if you want to research the Clean Schools, that whole program, I saw that part about Department of Commerce in there, so it's pretty interesting, to say the least. So, I mean, she said, mostly what I was going to say, but as Chris said, our school district alone is facing an $8 million special ed shortfall. Across the state, last year, when I was doing something else, I heard all over the state school districts, one of the number one reasons that they were facing binding conditions was special ed funding, lack of it, and transportation funding. And when we had our day on the Hill at CTAC a couple months ago, Senator Wellman and Representative Santos said they would do their best to help with the big three. And that's obviously not happening. Like Jennifer said, there's pretty much zero transportation funding. Very, very unfortunate about that. MSOC is not going to be near enough for school districts, especially struggling school districts. We're fortunate that we have a positive fund balance, but a lot of school districts don't, especially the ones that didn't pass their levy. So they're really in a tough spot. And in special ed, $2 billion sounds like a lot over a biennium, but it's only $1 billion a year, and it still sounds a lot. Then divide that by 295 school districts. Our school district is not going to get any of that money. Some of the rural school districts might get some. Again, they say they're going to increase LEA for the high poverty or rural schools, but that does nothing for school districts like ours. The school districts that will see the benefit of the levy lid increase, property tax increase, special ed funding will be Issaquah, Bellevue, Mercer Island, and Seattle Post Schools, the big four. The majority of the other school districts in the state are not going to see any benefit from this, and I would like to see more attention put on that than everything else that's going on. So I'm severely disappointed that we left the day on the Hill feeling somewhat optimistic after speaking to them and hearing their comments. And once again, they are not committed at the state legislative level to help our school districts in the state. And that's just the truth. So, so that was my legislative comment. I'll say my board comment for a minute.
Just start with your board comments.
Oh, okay, might as well. So, dang. Okay,
Military child. Good.
You paused when you read your little resolution. I was in the Navy for 28 years, and damn it. me take it to water. My wife was a teacher, certificated Washington State school teacher, and my 4 kids started their educational military journey in Washington. Then we moved to South Korea. My wife got certified to teach for DODEA, Department of Defense education activity, probably one of the best school districts in the world. We were there for less than 2 years, then we went to Guam. She taught at the Air Force Base, and I was at the Navy base. She taught art, so she got to see our kids all the time, which was cool. We were there for 2 years, and went to Italy, which is a terrible place to live, but not really. But so we got to live in Pisa, Italy, see some really cool stuff. When you're in a military base, like we were in Korea, gosh, I hate being such a sensitive guy when you talk about kids. But in Korea, in Guam, in Italy, we were on a military base. And those military kids get immediate support from their fellow kids. They know what they're going through. So, and we ended our military journey back here in Washington, full circle. We moved 5 times in 6 years, so seven years. And then you come back here and you got to readjust. And so, anyway. All of you. Thanks.
I know, we all do. That's why we're up here. Who's next? Who would like to go next? Any volunteers? No? You need a minute? Okay. Yeah, just, we've mentioned getting into the busy time of the year, and I can't believe when we looked at this, we're already looking out at, moving on ceremonies and graduation ceremonies and all of that coming up, the planning for those. I feel like tonight in particular, hearing about the National Board Certification and our paraeducators and that, to take a moment and from the hustle and the bustle of all of the activities to really recognize our, how incredible our staff is in supporting everything, all of these things that are going on. And particularly, I feel like hearing, with our music, this, the poetry, learning about this, there's something extra special about the performing arts, particularly in the Peninsula School District, both from the educator side, the student side, and the family, parent support side, because, again, I hate to bring it back to money, but these are our levy programs. These are our programs that our community values and sponsors and supports every year. And so I think it's really important that we continue to bring that forward, because music, poetry, performance, these are things that really, really connect all of us. And yes, math curriculum is exciting, but nothing moves you like these things and the amazing things that our kids can do, and they are doing it because they are inspired by their educators and they're supported by our families. So I just really wanted to thank our staff, thank our families for that. And then one more thank you. I do have to thank Natalie, since we're, in the spirit of Month of the Military Child, the Washington State, having that compact, the work you have done around all of this. I know this is your passion, and you have translated that into such meaningful legacy work that is making a difference in PSD and in the entire state of Washington. That just has to be commended. So thank you.
I'll follow you because I could not agree more. I also want to give you a shout out for all your work with this. And I have said this, I think, every year when we talk about the military child, but the people I've met in my life that have grown up as military children are the most, some of the most fascinating, well-adjusted, just able to meet all kinds of people and interact with everyone better than anybody else I've known. And they will say it's because of moving so much and figuring out early on, how to fit in. And along with that comes obvious hardship. And, also comes the unwillingness to attach to persons because you're not going to be there very long. But I recently saw a good friend of my husband's and mine from college, whose dad ultimately was a general in the Army, And he said that when we were in college, that was the longest he'd ever lived anywhere, was those 4 years. And it never occurred to me that that was the journey, you know. So, so I appreciate all your work, and I can't wait for the next meeting. And then just, I wanted to add my welcome to Bob Marshall, and I'm excited for what's next at Gig Harbor High School. And also just a heartfelt thank you to Michelle Suter, and for her 5 years here. Starting during COVID was not an easy way to meet your students over Zoom and such, but so appreciation to Michelle and welcome to Bob.
Well, thank you all for the kind words about my work on military kids. Clearly, that is my passion because I have 3 of them myself. But really, like David said, we came here because of the school. So it is really a full circle journey for us. And you know, an idea is great, but it doesn't go anywhere without support. And this board has been incredibly supportive of the school district. I mean, look at us all in our purple shirts. So I think what's uniquely special about military kids is they really embody all of the kids that we talk about, all abilities, you know, you name it, any characteristic that sets any of our kids apart, and yet they also have these transitions and the separations, and they grow up away from families, and they are missing their parents on deployments. There's just so much extra. So thank you all for taking time to really honor them. It's exciting, and I went to an assembly at Voyager today. It was just outstanding. Anytime you get, I don't know, kind of bogged down with stuff going on in Olympia or whatever it is that's happening, go into an elementary school and watch an assembly because it reminds you of why you keep showing up for that work. So that was fantastic. And just really, David, I know you get emotional too, but I want to thank you for using your experience with your own family and bringing it here with your passion. And we know that you love kids, so you've taken your family's experience and you're making it better for kids now, and that is legacy. We appreciate that. And I am going to end with just a little bit of more administrative stuff. So here's more WASDA work. The permanent position amendment window is open. So I know Jennifer and I have been digging through all those positions, and we will have Jenny share out what we're thinking about maybe amending. I don't think we have anything to add this year, but maybe revising some stuff. And these are positions that have anything to do with removing caps on sped, or not, no, I'm sorry, not sped funding, but like high cap, things that are just a little bit old, that we could probably make some amendments on. So if we'll look at it, and then anything that we think that we want to propose as a change to the WASDA legislative priorities or permanent position, we will have to vote on at the next meeting before the window closes. So we'll share that all out and discuss it in the meeting next week. And I'm sorry to tell everyone this, but I did get a message that we have one more presentation, so we're going to take another 5-minute break, and then we probably have 30 minutes or so. April Fools. All right. So.
April Fools.
Nice. I know. All right. So our next meeting will be April 22nd here at 6 o'clock, but I highly encourage everyone to come early. 4:30, we're going to have our Month of the Military Child Carnival. And with that,